2026 marks an extraordinary milestone. 250 years of Essex Freemasonry. For 2.5 centuries, Freemasons in Essex have been united by fellowship, service, and the commitment to support their communities. This anniversary, known as Essex 250, is both a celebration of our history and an opportunity to create a meaningful legacy for the future. In this special episode of Foundation Stone, the official podcast of Essex Freemasonry, we explore the story behind Essex 250, why it matters, the vision driving it forward, the charities that will be supported, and what it all means for Freemasons across the province. To help us unpack this history and the vision, we will be joined by two key figures, the Provincial Grand Master, Paul William Tarrant, and the Provincial Charity Steward, Chris Hicks. My name is Sam, and as ever, I'm joined by Paul. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hi, Sam. I'm good. How are you?
What have you been up to? Anything good?
Exercising?
Yes, of course.
I've taken a moment of madness and decided to do Couch to 5K. Doing it for Essex Cornerstone. We're celebrating 10 years in 2026, and we have challenged ourselves to raise 10K for 10 years. Probably quite a good segue into today's episode, isn't it?
Yeah. An anniversary, a special anniversary is exactly right. Yeah. Well, before we go any further, let's do one of the best sections.
Oh, yeah, your favourite.
Well, this one's a quote. To be honest, I want you to do, Paul, because you came up with this quote. After all of this moaning and not understanding how important these quotes are, you've actually done one yourself and gave to me to read out, but I think you should do it.
Okay. Well, there's a quote from Masonic historian Harry Carr. The most important thing in Freemasonry is that we pass it on unimpaired.
Perfect. Very, very apt for this as well, isn't it? For this 250th special episode. Absolutely. So I'm glad now you're getting involved in the quotes. Wonderful. We'll do that more often. So before we go any further, I think it's worth just explaining the roles of our guests. For anyone who might be listening who's not familiar with Freemasonry, the Provincial Grand Master, or PGM, as we'll probably say very often in this podcast, is essentially the leader of Freemasonry in the province. He's responsible for leading and overseeing all the lodges in Essex, setting the direction, supporting members, and making sure everything is being run properly and in line with the values of Freemasonry. And the Provincial Charity Steward is the leader of the Provincial Charity Team in the province. His role is all about encouraging and supporting charitable giving, helping lodges raise money, making sure that support is getting to the right causes, both Masonic charities and charities in the wider community. Essentially, he is in charge of all aspects of charity across the province. So, to help us understand what Essex 250 truly represents, from its historical roots to its charitable reach, we're joined by Provincial Grand Master Paul William Tarrant and the Provincial Charity Steward, Chris Hicks. So, let's get into it. So first of all, before we really get into the 250 side of things, let's look at your individual stories. So Provincial Grand Master, how did you get into Freemasonry? What made you want to join in the first place?
We'll have to go back, way back, because I joined 42 years ago, so it takes me back. But before that, my main hobby was amdrams. I used to do singing and acting and all that sort of thing. In fact, an old friend of mine said, why don't you join this club, which I did. He said, the main thing is, he didn't tell me about what it's about, really. He said, come along because the women outnumber the men by 3 to 1. So, and being 18 at the time, that seemed like a good idea. So I joined that, and that was great. And funnily enough, actually, a couple of the committee there were members of my father's lodge. I didn't realise it at the time, but that's what happened. So I was there, and I started to become friends with David Badger, if you know David.
Yes.
And he, after a few years, decided to propose me into the Lodge of Fraternity. That's where I became a member, and has been there ever since.
How did you rise up to position of Provincial Grand Master? What was the journey like? We've got a couple of hours. Don't worry about it.
Right. I'll try and make this fairly quick. I've always been amazed whenever I've been offered a particular position in Freemasonry. I wasn't expecting anything, but every time it's happened, it's been fantastic and I've enjoyed it. In Lodge of Fraternity, I obviously went through the chair when I was in my 30s, and I was made a steward at that time. And that was great. That opened my eyes, like it always does, to join the Stewards Lodge and Essex Masters and all that sort of thing. You start to get to know so many other people. And after that, I was made an ADC and then the sword bearer as well for the province in the craft. And then I was asked to be an APGP in the Royal Arch. So I did that for 1 year and then I was sacked. Because the deputy at the time decided he only wanted 4 APGPs and I was the first one in, so I was, that was it. But then 2 weeks later he asked me whether I'd like to be a deputy DC, so that was even better as far as I'm concerned. And I became the DC for the Royal Arch, and then I went off-field because I was offered the job at Mark Mason's Hall to be the Grand Secretary for the other orders, which I really enjoyed for about 2 or 3 years. And then, unfortunately, I had an illness and then I had to resign. And then I came back under Rodney, and then I was offered to be the Inspector General for South Essex, the Rose Choir. And then, 5 years ago, I had a phone call from UGLE. They asked me to take this one. So, God knows why. I wasn't expecting it. There we go.
Didn't know what he was getting himself in for.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not quite true. I did it, although it has changed. Whilst I've been here, actually, the whole thing has changed. The expectation from UGLE is different now than it was even under Rodney. Things are changing. More a business-like view of the province and the organisation. That's not a problem, but it is different.
Yeah. How about yourself, Chris? First of all, how did you join, or why did you join Freemasonry? And also, what was your journey to become charity steward? I mean, it's a marvellous role. It must be very rewarding.
It's one of the best roles in the province, really, charity steward. I also think it's one of the hardest, as my predecessor was reminding me as well. But no, in fact, my introduction to Freemasonry was, in a way, very similar to Paul's. As a child and at school, I grew up and I did drama, music at school. I ended up going to the Edinburgh Fringe and performed on there 1 year with the university, drama festivals in Poland with the university as well. And then one Saturday morning I was over at my uncle's house and suddenly saw him get a suit on and he walked out with a briefcase under his arm. And I went, "Where are you going?" He said, "Oh, I'm joining the Freemasons." I said, "Oh, I think I've heard about those." He said, "I'll tell you when it's right for you." 7 years later, when he was in the chair and he wanted a candidate, I was proposed. No, he was saying, after he'd been in there a few years, we talked about it. We went to ladies' nights just to meet people. And he said, "You'd enjoy this." He said, "You like learning things, you like performing things, and Freemasonry will be perfect for you." And then when I joined a Saturday afternoon lodge at Loughton, which has been my mother lodge, and to this date, I haven't missed a meeting.
Wow.
So that's not bad. I was initiated in May 1995 and I haven't missed a meeting yet. And in that time, I've managed to live in Brussels, Milan, New York, and I've got back for every meeting. Regularly attending LMI, which can't stress to any new listeners that LMI is really important for that. And so that gets you noticed with ritual. And then the year I got into the chair for Thomas Ralling, our APGM, I think he'd been tipped the wink by a couple of members in our lodge that this guy was a reasonable ritualist. And he came along and he liked it so much. And Alan Garner, I know, put me forward for a provincial steward, same as our Provincial Grand Master.
Well, he actually initiated me, Alan Garner.
So we have more links.
Yeah.
Interestingly, before I became a steward, I think I'd only ever visited lodges in Loughton and Clerkenwell. When you become a Provincial Grand Steward, whoomph, the whole vista opens up and suddenly you're exposed to so many more things of Freemasonry, so many more activities, so many more centres, so many more friends. And it just went from there. I mean, like Paul, I've joined a number of the other orders, not all of them, enough to keep things interested. How did I become charity steward? Basically, I can blame Colin Felton for that. Colin and I had always got on as stewards in the Stewards Lodge, etc. And he'd just been appointed as charity steward to replace Laurie Justice. And I invited him along to a Brook Lodge meeting, one of the older lodges in the province. And they had just managed to get sextuple grand patron for the festival. And that was only because we had 2 members in the lodge who had been to the boys' school.
Right.
And they wanted to put money back in again. So what the lodge put in, they each put in an equal amount. So that's why we were 6 times grand patron. So Colin came and gave a presentation and was immediately harangued by the charity steward about why Brook Lodge hadn't been given a special place at the festival, etc. And then a grand officer harangued Colin about, you may have been appointed, but you've not been invested. So Colin took him outside and had a few words with him and came back in. And Colin always remembers that. And he has been back to Brook Lodge since then. With that, Colin and I spoke together and he said, look, would you like to come on my team? And I said, be delighted to. And then he made me deputy charity steward then, which I then had to relinquish because John Webb had asked me to do the tercentenary coordination. So I had to step down for about a year while I did that. And then once I'd finished that, Colin said, right, you're coming back. So then for the next 6 or 7 years, I was Colin's deputy. And then when the festival ended and Colin was promoted to APGM, I then got a phone call from the Provincial Grand Master to say, Chris, we'd like you to carry on as charity steward. Nice. And that's where we are now.
Exactly. And you will be forever now.
So if we go right back to the start of Essex Freemasonry, really begins in 1776, and that was an incredible, influential year. It was the year of the American Declaration of Independence, the year Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations, and a time when ideas about society, responsibility, and community were being challenged and reshaped across the world. And yet Freemasonry at the time was very grounded. Lodges met in public inns, in market towns and ports. They were community-focused and practical, and very much part of everyday life.
We're talking about what's the basis of Freemasonry, and it is the moral teaching throughout the rituals and the principles of integrity and friendship and respect. That is not changing. That's fine, and that will carry on. It's the way we deal with society and how they view us. That's the issue, and that keeps changing, and we have to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, as regards the rituals and the morality, that will never change.
I've gained a lot out of Freemasonry. If you look back at my start of my journey personally, I think I'm a different person. The idea is to take good men and make them better, isn't it, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, the amount of friends, the amount of places I go, all through Freemasonry, not just me, my wife as well, it has improved my life dramatically. And that comes down to morals as well, because everybody's got the same set of morals. I think it's similar to supporting a football club. If you support West Ham or Ipswich, which I assume, but then especially Ipswich, because not many people do. So if
the way that West Ham are going, I think we got more than you have.
But if you find another Ipswich fan, you've immediately got something in common with them.
Absolutely.
And essentially your morals and everything are essentially the same. And it's the same in Freemasonry for me. As soon as you meet someone, you've got some connection with them.
And it is interesting because that does grow. It's, you were saying, Chris, as you go through your lodge and then become perhaps a steward or whatever, and you start to get to know other people in other centres, your eyes are opened suddenly.
That's Freemasonry.
And it happens internationally as well. I mean, I said I'd worked in Milan. I didn't do it in Freemasonry in Italy, but I did when I was in Belgium. I did when I was in France. I did when I was in the US and also in Scotland. It opens up those vistas, and it just shows you how good people can be.
Yeah, it has for me in the US, and particularly in Munich in Germany. I went there. That's fantastic. Still got some friends over there. Still see them occasionally.
I'm just happy with the province.
Well, it's a big province.
Well, yeah. Sam doesn't leave the province, to be fair.
No, he doesn't.
Feels he needs a passport just to go to Kent.
Yeah. Well, it's across the water.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, looking back at the PGMs, the past PGMs, the first PGM is Thomas Dunkley, who obviously was the PGM in 1776. He was a seaman and a lawyer. He oversaw, and I'm surprised by this, 17 provinces. And obviously had to travel by horse and by ship.
Yeah.
Can you connect with how hard that would be to run 17 provinces?
Yeah, it must be difficult. Of course, he was actually the son of a king, but maybe not in wedlock, but therefore he's...
Yeah.
I think he was described as a natural son of King King
natural
George
son.
II.
He was, yes. So he had some money from that area. But yeah, I reckon he would have used the ship a hell of a lot. He knew about ships. He was a member of the Navy for quite a while. He was at Quebec, the big battle there, and other places. So yeah, it is difficult. But if you look at the provinces, how many lodges are there in each of those provinces?
Yeah.
In Essex, when we started 250 years ago, there were
6, I think.
4. I thought 5. Let's say 5.
5,
Well, let's agree with 5.
He's 5. Yeah, there were 5.
We had about 5, and most of the other provinces had that kind of number. So it is difficult to travel that far, obviously, but he only had to go to 5 lodges. We have rather more.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many lodges do you have at the moment in Essex?
Ooh,
It's just under 300, 296, 97, something like
something like that. Something like that.
that. About 118 chapters.
Of course, with Dunkley, it wasn't just the craft and the Royal Arch. He made himself the Grand Master of the Templars as well.
Oh, right.
Because that didn't have an overall organisation before that. That had a number of encampments, as they called it at that time. There was one in the northeast and Bristol and Bath and 1 or 2 other places. And then they decided they'll bring it together with one organisation. And he started that as well. He's obviously very interested in all rituals. Very likely that he actually wrote some of the rituals.
Really?
Yeah. Not the Craft and Royal Arch, I don't think so, but definitely, well, I'm pretty sure in like Ram, he probably wrote some of that. He loved his ritual. That's the main.
So moving a bit forward.
We're not going to go through every one by
We're not going to go through all
Just
20. Yeah, we're only going to focus on a few. And actually, we're going to fast forward to the 7th Provincial Grand Master.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to go to the 5th, actually.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, just because we were talking about the history, and I actually wear the history of this province. The jewel on my chain was given to the province by the 5th Provincial Grand Master, Roland Alston, and that jewel is beautiful, and it's engraved on the back, 1836. So I thought I'd just mention that. It's fantastic. And then in 1883, the collarette, which denotes that I'm the Grand Superintendent as well, that was given. It's not got a name on it, but I like the idea that I'm actually wearing the history of this province.
The amount of pressure that you've got on you.
That's about right. That's why I get very worried about where that chain is every time.
1883, the Prince Grand Master then was the Honourable Francis Richard Charles Guy Greville Lord Brooke, 5th Earl of Warwick.
Yes, because he became the Earl of Warwick. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So sorry about that.
No, absolutely. It's thoroughly interesting. But Lord Tenterton, he was the 7th Provincial Grand Master, but he established the Provincial Charity Committee in 1880. So, Chris, why creating a formal Provincial Charity Committee, which turned into the Provincial Community Fund under the Provincial Grand Master of Rodney Bass? Why is that an important step for Essex Freemasonry?
I think looking back into the 19th century, charity was a very key point for Freemasons. Looking back in some of the historical elements that were going through at that time, there was a lot of needy people and Freemasons were doing a lot. So it was something that was happening around. And I think Lord Tenterton was the first one to actually formalise the whole thing. And I think, again, Essex were one of the first provinces to do that. And so we've had the charity committee, or however we want to describe it, now for 150 years almost. And it did actually change during the time of Rodney Bass when he formalised the charity accounts and how we run the charities. And it makes a lot of sense because we have, in the province, we have actually 3 charitable elements. You've got the Almoners Fund, you've got the Provincial Charity Fund, and then you've got the Freemasons Community Fund. And that does mean we can be flexible with how we support charities and how we support good causes. The Almoners Fund supports the members and people, in distress, and the Charity Fund helps that along as well. And then we have the Community Fund where we can support good causes that may not be charities, that may be good causes in themselves, that may not be able to get funding from the MCF or other charities, but we can get that from the Essex Freemasons Community Fund. And of course, community is one of the key pillars now going forward with community engagement. And that is being very, very successful.
So then we move forward. We're going into kind of the modern times now with PGMs. We've got Sir Neil Fawn. For me, he done something very important. He approved Teddies for Loving Care, TLC, in 2001. It's an amazing charity. Well, Paul, you're part of the committee, aren't you? Is that right?
I'm on the committee.
It's an amazing charity, and for such a simple idea, it's spread so far. I mean, tell us about the charity.
We currently provide teddies to children A&E departments, and it really is probably one of the most scariest times for a child. You can provide them with a teddy. Either doctors use the teddies as to show what they're going to be doing as a procedure, or the child has something to look after while they're being cared for. And the impact of them is just amazing. And we hear so many stories from parents.
Well, we know. Me and you are part of a group with Jack Webb.
Yep.
And Jack Webb, to put a message on to say his daughter, whilst in hospital, received a teddy. It was amazing, the impact that small, such a small and easy idea.
She's our poster child, because you can see from the picture, she was absolutely crying her eyes out. And they handed her a teddy and she just had this massive smile, and he's caught a picture of it, and we're using that for Teddies for Loving Care because you can see the tears in their eyes, but the big massive smile from receiving this teddy, and it's just such a powerful picture.
Well, in the 250 set of charities that we're supporting, the first responders, we went to see them because we're given some cars for them to use, but they then said, can we have the teddies too? So it's really loved in all sorts of areas in the NHS and the other areas. Wonderful idea, and it's gone viral all over the Constitution and across.
Didn't I hear it was going to New Zealand now?
Yeah, New Zealand.
New Zealand, Australia, Ireland, definitely in Scotland.
I think Denmark is going to be the newest one taking it on. But yeah, it's worldwide.
Initiatives like that work are also the most simplest. And I think we've got another one coming up in Essex that is going to be developing over the next few years, which is the Get Started for Art. Again, that's another simple method, which Dave has worked very hard on. And I know a number of provinces are looking at it, and a number of other constitutions are looking at it, and the MCF are helping him with it. So ideas come from Essex.
That's Get Started Art, isn't it? It's a charity run by and started by Dave Barton, and it's providing colouring in books for children in hospitals, care homes for the elderly. There's lots of different versions he does. He does ones for autism, ones for ADHD. Again, very, very simple. Just a colouring in book, but it's what that colouring in book can do. It can occupy time, it can calm you down.
He's working with the hospices as part of the Royal Arch Initiative, providing support to hospices. He's done a colouring book for grief and loss. It's just so powerful.
It's not just for children. One of the ones he's done recently, which managed to get the province accredited with the Alzheimer's Society. Colouring in is something that really concentrates their mind and they can focus on something.
So we've looked back at past PGMs.
And I guess we're now on the 20th.
Exactly. So what does the 250 mean to you personally? I mean, one day people will be doing a podcast and talking about you. How does that make you feel? It must be very special.
It is extremely special. The 250th for this province is an amazing moment for me to be the PGM. I'm very honoured to be here. But what we do and what we support will be there for a long time in the future.
So for yourself, it's legacy.
It is. Oh, yes, most definitely. Yes, exactly so. You can see that in a number of the charities that we are supporting, what we've done and what we're doing in the future will still be around for quite a long time. And I particularly wanted a green agenda within the 250 set of charities. We're planting a load of trees to make a wild wood. So it'll be good for the wildlife, but it was also open for everybody to go there. And it will be the Freemasons wood, or might be taught.
I mean, you can't get any better in legacy than that. It's
exactly. That will always be there.
Yeah. And those trees will last hundreds of years. Definitely their offspring will.
Yeah.
I regularly walk my dogs in my local woods. You know, people will be doing that definitely in 200, 100 years' time. No one's going to lose the love for dogs, are they?
And hopefully the signage will still be there saying this was Essex Freemasons did this.
Yeah.
So, but that's not just that. I mean, obviously the first responders have 3 cars from us and various other bits and pieces. They'll be around for a long time. That'll be obvious. It has our sign on them. And there are various others as well.
Actually, whilst we've mentioned the charities that are being helped by the 250, let's go into detail there. What's happening on the charity front this year?
Right, on the charity front for the legacy and the celebration for the 250, we're supporting 4 major charities, good causes, how we want to describe it, plus TLC, as it's the TLC's 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And the 4 charities that we are supporting, we've got Headway, which is the stroke and brain injury resource in Colchester. We've then got the Essex Wildlife Trust, which is Abbott's Hall Farm, where the wood is going to be. We've then got the Essex First Responders, which are based at Chelmsford, Springfield, just outside Chelmsford. And then we've got the Friends of Essex and London Homeless, which is based on the south of the province between Grays and Mile End. And the plan is that we are supporting each of those with £100,000. With Headway, we're the biggest funder for the extension for the facility there. The whole facility itself is going to cost something in the region of about £200,000, and we're going to put £100,000 into that. And that's going to allow them to have a gym there, which at the present time they have to go outside to do that. So that's the Headway one. The Essex Wildlife Trust, it's something like about 4,000 odd trees were planted in 2024. The aim is that come the middle of this year, 2026, it will be quite substantial. They won't be sort of the big trees, but they'll be
saplings.
There'll be saplings, but you'll be able to see the whole thing. And this is a whole area in Abbott's Hall Farm where the ground has been recovered and they're making a wood. The working title is Freemasons Wood. We did have some other names, but Provincial Grand Master vetoed all of those.
Dare I ask what some of them were?
Oh, look at Chris. Go on.
The Chris Hicks.
No.
Hicks. No. Funnily enough, no, he didn't say that.
No. Tarrant's Folly. That actually got a lot of...
That was Hubbard who said that. John Hubbard said
It might have been Hubbard, that one.
No, yeah.
But we had a few...
We're going into boating but boat faces.
Yeah, we were quite going into that, but we decided not to. So that's that. With the first responders, up to about 3-4 months ago, Essex had 2 cars of the community first responders. Now, these guys they're volunteers. They've all had training in first aid. Some of them are ex-ambulance people, some are ex-nurses and that. They're often the first vehicle that gets to an accident or an event or something with that. And they only had 2 cars in Essex. There was only 4 cars in the whole of East Anglia.
Wow.
So you were talking Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridge and Essex. There was 4 cars. And we had 2 in Essex, 1 down in Southend and 1 up in Chelmsford. With the 100,000 that we're giving them, they've managed to purchase 3 new cars. Well, new cars to them. They're repurposed cars that were NHS cars. So they're already fit with
They're
the
only
NHS.
about a year old, though.
Yeah, that's right. And I had a very nice email before Christmas from a patient who said, I'd just like to write to you to thank you for the support you've given to the first responders, etc. What happened, the guy was bedridden. He'd fallen out of bed and the carer that came to visit him couldn't lift him up. He was quite heavy and she was quite small. So he was basically stuck between the bed and the wall. They phoned the first responders. The first responder took about an hour or so to get there, but that was pretty good for that. And with the aid of a razor chair, which is one of the other functions that we've supported as well, which is a specialised piece of equipment that goes under people that are on the floor and then lifts them up without putting any pressure.
Has an electric motor and it pushes you up.
Amazing.
That means that one person who's the first responder can actually manage that person into a chair.
Yeah.
Amazing thing. It comes in bits. It comes in a bag and just put it together underneath the person.
That's amazing.
And suddenly it can push you up. It's just
It's fantastic.
amazing thing.
So he sort of thanked the first responder, and the first responder said, well, thank you very much for that. But the people you really want to thank are Essex Freemasons, because they've helped supply the car that I'm driving today and the razor chair.
That's direct impact.
That is direct impact on the community. To be honest with you, I would rather have those cars sit there and do nothing, because that means there's no incidents and there's no issues. But because they're there, they're there. And then, of course, the fourth one is Friends of Essex and East London Homeless. We actually stunned them by supporting them because they've never had this kind of donation in the whole of their history. And what they do, they run food banks and soup kitchens and end-of-week food runs from Grays into Mile End into London. And they were in real need of a vehicle because their old one was falling to pieces. So with our 100,000, we've done quite a lot with them. We've actually supplied a new vehicle. We've supplied them with refurbishing of their storage area. We've managed to get
some IT upgrades.
There's been an IT upgrade. There's been training for the staff, because all the staff are volunteers. So they've been health and safety and all the other kind of trainings that they've had with that one. There's even been a team building day. When we first spoke to them, they said, how can we spend £100,000?
Yeah.
And we went, I'm sure you'll find a way. And when they kept coming
Talk to my wife.
and then they said, coming up with the wish list of all they wanted, we went, yep.
Yeah.
And they go, oh.
How amazing.
I just love that story because you've kind of boosted them as a charity by about 10 years in the progression that they could make.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if that charity is up for a King's Award for voluntary service next year.
Could well be.
Could well be.
Could well be, yeah.
The van is branded with Essex Freemasons. The cars are branded with Essex Freemasons. The headway building will have a plaque with Essex Freemasons on it. And of course, Freemasons wood.
Or Chris Hicks would.
No, it's Freemasons wood.
And of course, then, as we said, TLC, another 25,000. So
and with that money, that's allowed TLC to provide teddies for paediatric wards as well. We always found that there was a number of children coming in for scheduled operations. They didn't have an opportunity to get a teddy.
Mind you, as I said to you, look out, because I think the first responders would like to be a part of that as well.
So then we're going on to the celebrations. So we have the 250 celebrations, which is a dinner on Saturday the 20th of June.
Yep.
That's correct.
And we've got them in 5 centres.
The dinners are going to be held at St Giles Centre in Colchester, Howard Hall in Braintree, Saxon Hall at Southend, the Square at Upminster, and Chingford Masonic Hall.
That's right. We were adamant that it ought to be in Essex. There was a discussion as to whether have a big meeting, a big do in London, maybe at Guildhall or something, be ridiculously expensive for everybody who wants to go. But actually, this is about Essex.
Yeah.
It's not about London. And keep the cost down for everybody. They can enjoy themselves. And it covers quite well the province.
Yeah.
As of this morning, we have either sold or allocated over 300 tickets, and the maximum we've got is 550. So we're well on the way to getting everything full. We have got options. If there's an excess of need in different parts of the province, we have got other options that we can sort of expand into. But let's just sell the first 550 tickets. To make sure you secure the tickets, there's QR codes and things going around on Facebook, etc. But the actual place to book it from is essexfreemasons.org.uk/about/250. And if you go there, there's all the information there about the dinners. There's QR codes to log in and register things. You'll hear more about the 250 on there as well.
And the dinners, they are for guests as well.
Yes, it is a ladies' night, effectively. So friends, family, Masons, non-Masons are all welcome.
It'll be a fantastic event.
Oh, absolutely.
An excuse to get my provincial bow tie out.
Yes. Well, you don't need much of an excuse. I've seen you wear it more often than I've seen you wear your tie. Well, me and my wife have got ours.
Yep.
We're going to Upminster Centre.
Yep.
It's all right, okay.
Yep. But that's the local one for us. Not only that,
the idea. That's
that's the wonderful thing about this. Not only that, lots of my friends are going. So we're all going to go up together.
Good.
It's literally perfect.
You won't see me, I'm afraid.
No,
Sorry, Sam.
and I think you'll find we will.
Yes, you will, actually. Yes, sorry. Yes, you will. You will.
So obviously for people listening to this podcast, what's actually happening is that there's a video link of a speech. Is that right? Is it going to be a speech?
Well, it should be a short speech because it's about having a good time, not about banging on about things too long. But yes, there'll be a speech, obviously. But also, I think, I'm looking at Chris to make sure I've got this right, we're going to have some short videos of each of the charities that we're supporting. Nice. So everybody will see the same thing. And that will be videoed to everybody in each of those 5 areas.
And there'll also be the short videos that the comms team are putting together about the Provincial Grand Masters and the other elements that we're doing. Yeah. So there will be an audio-visual element. It'll be linked from Southend, which the hub will be at, and it will be broadcast to the other 4 centres. It's a celebration. So I know my charity team have been really anti this, but we've said no. There is no raffles. There is no auctions. There is, there is no fundraising at all. It's a celebration. And each venue will have a live band, and each venue will have close magicians going round. Each venue will also have a member of the executive who is the host for the night. So Provincial Grand Master will be at Saxon Hall, and the rest of the executive will be spread around the rest of the province.
So obviously we've got the dinners. Fantastic. As I say, I've got my ticket already. Is there anything else that's happening at all?
Well, yes. We're having a celebratory concert at Brentwood School on Friday, the 24th of July. And that is in the relatively new auditorium that they've got. We've got a concert there which will feature a wind orchestra, an orchestra without any strings.
Nice. No strings attached.
No strings attached. In fact, we could call it the No Strings Attached concert. That's going to happen on Friday the 24th. Tickets will be going on sale in the next few weeks with that. And to keep in the theme of the 250, the ticket prices will be £25 a ticket. And for that, there'll be a welcome drink and canapes to start with, and then the concert, which should last about an hour and a half. I think we're planning for it. And during the concert, which will have musical items, there'll be some elements where people can sing along. There will be a narration, and it'll be compared by our dear friend Bernie Smith.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So it's going to be a really fun night. So we've got that coming up, and then in May we are actually having a blue plaque placed at what were the old assembly rooms in the King's Head Inn. I think it's Headway Court in Head Street in Colchester. The building is still there. It's actually got quite a good history on it because it was a place where the Cavaliers held out against the Roundheads.
Is this the building with the bullet holes in still?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the assembly rooms. And that's where the first, and the second Provincial Grand Lodge meeting were held.
Wow.
So we're going to put the blue plaque on there. From a calendar perspective, May is the blue plaque, June is the dinners, and July is the concert. And then the last thing of that, we're going to try and get some open days in September.
Nice.
And we want to try and look at getting as many centres as we can have open on the same day.
Wow.
Amazing. I didn't know about that. And of course, the other aspect, which I've got myself already, is the ties, the merchandise. So tell us about the merchandise.
Well, we always have to be careful with merchandise.
Merch. We like to call it.
Oh, we're modern. It's a podcast. I mean, merch it is, yeah.
We did introduce a new tie.
Yes.
Which is one tie for both lodge and chapter.
And it is for the 250. As you know, it has the shield.
Yeah. So Essex Mason has already passed us £50,000 profits from the ties, which have gone into the funds to support things. And there's a bow tie version as well. We've also got polo shirts. There's a navy blue one and a white one available now, and in the spring a red one will come on board.
Oh, for our stewards.
There'll be 3 of them. There's cufflinks and tie pins, which have gone pretty well. The Stewards of the Year designed some socks, which are on sale there. Yep. And we're going to start selling now coasters. 20 coasters printed for the 20 Provincial Grand Masters with a small sort of note of who they were on there. And they're going to be sold in 2 forms. One form, a full set of 20, which are good quality in a box. And unfortunately, the price of those is £50. But you can buy a pack of 5 random coasters. So you can go around and say, I'll swap you a Tarrant for a Duncan if you get too many of them. And
everybody's going to get rid of Tarrant.
Got to collect them all, basically.
Yeah. There was and that's £5 for a pack.
Masonic Pokemon.
You need to have a sticker book
Exactly.
for them to go into.
And also, every participant at the dinners on the 20th will have one of the good quality ones as a gift on their table place.
Nice.
So
Gold plated, are they?
your one will be.
No, of course.
There will be a publication which will be for the 20 Provincial Grand Masters. And one of the plans is that every member of province will get a copy of it if we can get the price right. They will be available at the dinner in June if need be.
So on the merch,
Yep.
I'm going to definitely use the
Yeah,
right
on the
language
merch.
then. On the merch. So on the 250 merch, where can people buy these items?
Everything can be bought through Essex Mason. If you go onto the Essex Mason website, they're on there. The coasters, the polo shirts, the ties, the socks, everything.
Oh, we didn't mention socks.
Yes, I did. Didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh, you see, I love a good pair of socks.
Clearly haven't been to anywhere where you've seen a steward, because they would have caught you all day long.
So now we get to my most favourite part.
So, have you ever seen Jerry Springer?
Yes.
Have you seen Jerry's final thought?
So, today's conversation reminds us that Essex Freemasonry is rooted in history, service and purpose. 250 years of Essex Freemasonry isn't just a milestone to admire, it's a platform to build from. Through the chosen charities, the participation of members across the province, the celebration events and the spirit of generosity at the heart of this initiative, Essex 250 shows Freemasonry at its best. Outward-facing, community-minded and guided by values. Whether you're a long-standing Freemason, just starting your journey, or interested in joining, this anniversary invites us all to reflect on how we have contributed, not only to Freemasonry, but to the communities around us. In honouring our past, we build a legacy of service that will shape the future.